Welcome back to another episode of Noiz.I Talks with friends. If you are new to the channel, please like, comment, and subscribe. We're on our way to 1K. We not just hit, but we are very close to 400, so that's amazing. Thank you, guys. Let's continue to grow. Share it, like, comment on everything. Today, it is a very special episode, not even because of the person, but we are also on episode 25. So this has been going for a while now, and I've been very grateful for every interviewee and every person who's been tuning in and all that stuff. So I just want to say thank you guys from the bottom of my heart, because people, we need to have conversations. So I think it's very important for us to just continue to have open conversations with family, friends, nieces, nephews, cousins. It don't matter who. Episode 25. But today, this person I have, I'm not going to say have been really close, because I'm not going to lie to people, but he is a person that I do admire with how he carries himself mostly. A lot of people who come from where we are from, especially the schools we are from, we're not really taught how to control ourselves, control our character, control anything. And I think he is a perfect example of that. He's been doing really good in school. He's an athlete, so we'll get into that as well. But today we have
Quincy Scott.
Quincy Scott. Woo,
Q
woo,
Scott.
woo, woo.
Whatever you want to call me, everybody just call me Q. So
Yeah.
I got that name when I was like probably firstborn for real. So. Ever since I was little, everybody just called me Q. So I actually said when I was at practice one day, I was like, man, I might change my name to Q.
Just Q.
Just Q. Like, that's
Just
what everybody calls me now. So.
Just do it. But for people who don't know you, Q, who are you? What do you do?
Well, first and foremost, recent college grad.
Congratulations.
University of Alabama, Roll Tide.
I'm a Michigan fan, so I'm sorry. But we'll get to that later.
You and my dad would be best friends.
Bets.
Go
That's
blue,
what's up.
that's
Go
all
blue.
he
Go
said.
blue.
Recent college grad. I've been doing track since I was in like the 6th grade. Before that, it was just basketball, football. And actually, me being terrible at basketball is what led to me running track, actually.
Yeah.
Which is crazy, because I can remember when I shot at the wrong basket. And that was the one time that the ball went in the basket. When I made it in the other team.
You was so proud.
Yeah, I was happy. I'm not going to. I was happy.
He was ecstatic.
I was happy. My parents was happy. They were like, even though you made it in the wrong basket, you still made it.
You still
I'm
gave
like,
effort, son. That's what's up.
Yeah, but I've been waiting for this for a while. Like I told you before we got started, I think we was getting this in motion like back in April.
Yeah, it's been a long time for us putting this together. So what Quincy does not know is that usually I do 6 questions with people, but because it's the 25th episode, I want to try something a little different. And I did want to tell him ahead of time, because I feel like I don't think he wouldn't have done it, but I just want to see how it goes. So today's format, we are actually going to have the person just talk about like their life in general, and like leading up to now, and then within that we'll have sub questions, and then at the end I'll ask 3 questions. Just because I think 6 questions are cool and all stuff, but I also want to see how open people are wanting to be, without just me giving you questions. You know what I mean? So Quincy, do tell about your life, your upbringing, how you are now. Kind of put it all together.
Well, we grew up on Madison. My dad, he grew up on in the Sherman, around the Sherman area. We grew up on Madison, and we lived in a white double. And like I said, sports has been a part of my life for a very, very long time. Going back to my grandfathers, it's just in my family. Like my grandfather and his brothers, they were really big on baseball and softball, and they actually hold a tournament in David Moore Park to honor one of our cousins that passed away. And my dad, when he was in high school, he's a football guy, basketball guy. I think he ran track a little bit, but yeah, like I said, just grew up on Madison. I've always been a a quiet guy, and I've had a lot of time to think. With being at school for the last 3 weeks, just focusing on track, I've had a lot of time to focus on just me as a person and who I am and what I want out of life with the people I want to get that with, reach that point with. So, but yeah, sports is, I feel like everybody knows me for sports. And me and my friend, we were sitting out here last night, I think, and I said, nobody has actually had a conversation with me, so nobody knows the real me. Everybody just knows the sports version of me, like what I did in high school in track and football. What I did at Tiffin in track, what I did at Alabama, but you taking the time to sit down and actually get to know me, I appreciate that.
Yeah, for sure.
That a lot.
So if you could, kind of break down even more, like what was Q like growing up? Like, aside from sports, aside from like, we know that was a part of your life. Mm-hmm. So like, what are some things that you grew out of, or some things that you grown into? You know what I mean? Kind of like explore that.
I would say something I've gotten very comfortable with is being alone. I don't mind being alone, and I feel like taking the time to self-reflect and know what it is what you want to go after and what you want to do. I feel like that takes, it's hard. It can be hard at times for if you're not used to being alone or you don't like to be alone. But I've gotten very comfortable with being alone, and it's just me and my thoughts, and because I feel like I can weed out the bad, and I think a lot anyway. But being alone is something I'll probably say in the past, really since I got to Alabama, that I've gotten really comfortable with, just because, it's just me down there. Like, nobody's down there with me, so.
How has that affected who you are today, though? Like, so like you see that you were alone, and like, like you're at the school and all that stuff, but you being so comfortable in your thoughts, like, has there ever been areas where like you've gotten like in a dark place, or like kind of explore that too? And like, I don't mean to ask so many questions in between.
Oh no, you good. Yeah.
So like if you ever think of something that like I asked, just go back to it. Yeah. So whatever.
So do you remember the Instagram post I made when I was like talking about anxiety and depression?
Yeah,
and stuff
yeah,
like
I actually do. Yep.
I would say I found myself in a deep hole around the end of September until about the middle of February, really. It was like, I just felt like I was constantly trying to dig myself out of a hole, and I felt like my life was on repeat. Like, I would just do the same stuff over and over and over.
How did you get there?
Every single day. I can't even tell you, honestly. I really can't even tell you. And I think part of it started with when I came home after my first year at Alabama, and I had time to just decompress and, like I said, think, have time to myself. And I don't know if you know, but my mother, she had breast cancer. She got diagnosed with breast cancer, and she told me when I came home, she got diagnosed in November, and she told me the day after I got home for Christmas break. She woke me up out of bed, and at first I thought I was in trouble. I'm like, she just woke me up out of a dance.
Right, like, oh dang, I'm about to get smacked on. Yeah.
She's like, Q, come downstairs. Like, we got to talk to you about something. So I went down there, and stepfather was sitting on the couch, and they were like, she told me that she had cancer, and I'm like, dang. And then it's just one of those things where that something like that can happen to me, because people in this world do unfortunately get cancer.
Yeah, like it exists, but like maybe you didn't know it existed because it's never happened in your life.
I didn't think that's something that my mother.
Yeah, that's real, bro.
And so, I got back to school, and when I left, she had hair. The next time I saw her was at SEC's. We were at Texas A&M, and I saw her, and her hands were all like, her palms were like patchy from the chemo and stuff like that, and her skin was darker than normal, and you could just see it in her. I could see it in her face, and I'm like, bruh, she's like really going through chemo right now. But I couldn't focus put too much focus on it because I had track and school. But when I came home and track and school was out of the picture, I think that's when stuff started going downhill for me because I really had time to think about what my mother was going through. And I remember, I was just hang out with friends, and like, I'm an only child, so my mother will text and call me to death. And her mother does that too. But she doesn't see it when she does it to me.
Right, yeah.
But she gets mad when her mother does. I'm like, you're doing the same thing.
Right, yep.
But yeah, she would just text me all the time, and sometimes I wouldn't text back, and like I used to just go back and read. Like I said, being in my head, I would just go back and read some of our texts, and there would be gaps from when like I would respond, but she would send a whole bunch of messages, and I really started thinking like I should probably, tell my family I love them a lot more, tell them I care about them a lot more, because you never know what can happen.
Yeah, and like, so do you feel that you were so focused on sports and being a scholar and athlete that kind of led you away from being a son, being a
little bit, yeah. And like I said, just from the time graduation ended until we got back from NCAA, it was about a little over 4 weeks, like 4.5 weeks or something like that. And I didn't have any school, so like I said, I had a lot of time to think about just a bunch of stuff, like what my mom went through, relationship with, my girlfriend, friends, how I am with my parents, relationships I need to fix, so, but definitely putting all my eggs in the athletic basket. It definitely took, to me, it took a little bit out of me. Honestly,
yeah, because and like again, from a person who only sees and like I don't want to say I don't know Q, like we've had some great conversations, but it has unfortunately been through media. So yeah, I think from an outside view, it's how I view it is like, you've only been, I'm not gonna say able to focus, but you kind of made yourself only focus on what was either handed to you or what was ahead of you. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So like, you being the only child, or you not really going through the stuff that you went through, as soon as you did, you kind of hit a brick wall. Yeah. And like, I think that's something that is very important, that you went through it, because like a lot of people don't understand the true value of going through things. Like a lot of people have stuff handed to them, which is, that's a whole different conversation. But yeah. I think once you're self-aware of where you're at, I think that's like the biggest impact on anything, because that's who you really are. Because it's like, man, now I have to reset. Yeah, man. So I think that's something that you have to continue to grow into, because something that him and I talked about before recording is like, because like he asked me like, well, how have you been and all that stuff. I'm like, man, like the main focus I have right now is family, bro. Like COVID was a huge awakening for everyone. Just seeing how a bunch of family members passed away, or just how terrible that you was. Like no jobs, no nothing. So it's like, like access was the biggest part of 2020. And I think now I understand how important it is to be an example, first of all, to your family. And for your family, because like, again, we don't have a lot of time on this earth, people. And I think that the more you understand true value, and that's of anything, friendships, how you spend your time, it's important. So it's like, Q, I do want to say, continue to understand what is in front of you. Oh yeah, definitely. Because they're like, I'm gonna say if you're just now discovering, but if you just recently went through that, there's a lot more for you to even understand more about yourself. But what else do you feel like you are? Oh, hold on. Let me make sure that's not one of the questions. hold on. Because, I'm not going to ask that. Like, okay, so you going through that. How real was that for you? like, you know, you see your mom, like you've never experienced that like in your life. Like, how was that for you, and how is that affecting you today, or if it is? I mean, obviously it is, but
I would say, like, and like I said, I never thought that my mom would go through something like that, but it's one of those things, you know, you yourself have to remain as strong as you can so that they don't see you, you know, down and upset, because then they'll probably get down and upset.
so does making you feel vulnerable make you feel weak?
At sometimes, at some points, but not all. And piggybacking off of that, like when I was at school and you know, when I was going through all of that stuff, looking back at it now, I'm like, and my mom, that was just like the tip of the iceberg, really. And some of it was school, because I'm not really a big fan of school at all.
Right,
At all.
yeah.
And some of it was track, honestly. Like, there was a part of me that grew a little bit at a time, over time, that was honestly ready for track to be done, for real. And I think it was because it's been a while since I've just been able to
Be you.
be me, yeah.
Like, yeah,
Just enjoy the outdoors, enjoy nature, enjoy.
Simple things in life, bro. Yeah.
And it's definitely been a while since I've been able to do that. And I reached a point where when the second semester came, like, there was almost a point, well, not almost a point, I almost wasn't eligible for track. And like, when that point came, there was kind of like a wave of relief.
I'm about to say like a
me.
piece. Like,
Yeah.
wow, I don't have to be this. Yeah.
I'm like, dang, I'm really not about to be able to run. But saying it and thinking it, I was relieved. I'm like, dang, I can really be done if I wanted to.
Right.
But at the same time, I'm like, that's one of those things where, and like I said about the self-reflection, you really have to dig within yourself and go deep within yourself to know if that's something that you really truly want. And you know, being down there alone and seeing that I was almost ineligible, I'm like, it may have seemed good and fun at the moment, but looking back, I'm blessed, and you know, I appreciate all the coaches at Alabama and the relationships I made down there. And I think, you know, me remaining, always moving forward and always looking at the end goal. And the end goal was to get to Texas, to get to Austin, to run the relay at NCAA's.
So do you think that so like you were saying how you were maybe going to be at peace or relieved because you were ineligible, like, do you think, let's say you were ineligible, how would you have changed from then to now?
I probably would have been salty, like
Really?
upset, just because
Because of grades, or because of the actual?
just because I wouldn't have been able to run.
Okay.
And I know it sounds weird just because of what I just said.
Yeah, but I
but
say
it's like,
it is kind of contradicting,
Yeah.
but I'll listen.
and it's like, I think at the moment there was just a lot on my plate, and there was so much on my shoulders. It was
Like what?
What my mom went through. I don't want to say it on here, but I'm just gonna say it anyway because he might not watch it. But Wayne, my trainer Wayne from high school, we had a
fallout?
Yeah.
Okay.
And so we haven't really been on speaking terms, really, like, at all, for a really long time, actually. A really long time. And that's probably my mom's, what she was going through. That's probably the first thing that was eating me up on the inside. But the second thing was honestly that, because looking back to high school, we was together all the time. I was in the church every single day after practice.
Literally. Literally.
Every day after practice. But it was almost like me being in there, and the accomplishments that I had, when I was going to the church, it was like there was like something being held over me, like he was trying to do more than what he should have been doing, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I said there was something over my head, because it was almost like he was hanging, you know, me coming into the building. Basically, he poured a lot into me.
Right.
And I think he was expecting more than what I gave him back. From not an athletic standpoint, but from just a relationship standpoint.
So can you explain that? Like, what expectations he had from the relationship standpoint?
It was more so when I went off to school, when I was at Tiffin. I kind of stopped talking to a lot of people, but I made sure the people that were important to me, you kept in contact with.
Yeah. Right, yeah.
And he was important to me.
Yeah.
But it got to a point where, like, he was trying to coach me from back home instead of letting my college coach do that.
I'm about to say, like, that's literally impossible unless you're paying him to be a professional trainer. But it's like, you're there now. Yeah. I mean, like, that's the whole point. Like you got him there.
Yeah, he did everything that I felt like he was supposed to do when I was in high school. And then when I left, there's like, he should have just passed the torch to my college coach. And
what do you feel like he wanted? Because you said more in the relationship. So like, are you talking more communication? Are you talking about more recognition
I
to
think
like?
So yeah, and I've never been one to. I definitely gave Speed by Faith the props it deserved. Whenever I was in high school and I had to, you know, talk to somebody from a paper, I always mentioned Speed by Faith, because that, if it wouldn't have been for them, I probably wouldn't even be, or wouldn't have been in college running track if it wasn't for Speed by Faith. But I think it was just communication, and not so much the recognition, but the communication part. And I had a hard time understanding, like, how he was viewing things, because I'm like, you know, I'm in college, I got schoolwork, I got practice, so of course I'm not gonna talk to you 24/7. And there came a point when I honestly got annoyed, and I hate being like that with somebody that did a lot for me, because if you meet people in life that, if you're fortunate enough to, you know, build that type of relationship, I feel like it would be a waste to let it get to that point.
Nah, and this is why I say that, bro. You got to understand, again, value, bro. And like, I'm not talking down on the person that you're talking about. I'm not whatever, but I'm talking about just the idea of value. If people don't get it, let it go. I don't care if they gave you $10 million. I don't care if anything. If they don't understand their position and where you're at in life, then there's no reason for you to feel like you have to hate using the word, but baby them, because it's like, oh, well, I should cater to your feelings because of X, Y, and Z. No. And like, that's why, like, I'm a big believer on being blunt. If I can't tell you how I'm feeling at all times, I'm not supposed to be around you. Yeah. If we're walking outside and I think you look ugly, go back inside and change. You know what I mean? So it's like, people have to understand your position in your life, because like, we're all still growing every day. Yeah, so never feel a certain way because you don't feel like X, Y, and Z. Like, you are growing still, because again, Q only know Q as an athlete. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it's like, how else can you get to that point where you know yourself if you're not going through stuff alone? I think a lot of people who try to I hate feeling this way, but who try to stay relevant in people's lives because they're going somewhere. They feel like, oh, you owe me because remember that one time for 2 hours when you were working out and I had to stay. Like, no, I don't owe you anything and you don't owe me anything. We were there together at a time. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, basically you don't owe anyone anything, bro. And I will say again, as a distant friend, it is kind of sad. Not in like a depressing sad, but it is kind of sad to know that you don't even know yourself other than run, play, scholar. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it's like, it's very interesting for me to always have people who come on. Like, we literally live different lives, bro. Like, we come from different families. There's different people that we encounter. Like, it's very interesting to see how life turns out for people. But do you have more that you want to get off your chest with that?
No, I just
Cat.
nah. I swear, like
No,
I
I'm
said
joking.
everything I
No,
need to
yeah,
say,
yeah,
but I do think a conversation is
Needed.
needed, definitely.
And for-
whatever, and I'm at the point now. Whatever happens after that, when I say what I need to say, I'm just gonna keep moving forward.
Yeah, and like do you feel with the stuff that you have encountered like these last few months, last few years, school, whatever? When was the last time you felt like you were at peace?
It's been a minute. I'm not gonna say a minute. It's been honestly within the past couple of weeks, for real. Because I feel like doors started closing when they needed to close. Yeah, doors started closing when they needed to close, and I can't do anything about what's back there because I'm gonna miss what's right in front of me. So
Do you feel like you've healed from anything in the past?
I feel like I'm still. I don't want to say still healing because I don't make it sound like I'm still going through something, but I felt like I've dealt with what I needed to deal with from the past, but I'm trying to reshape myself for who I know I can be, for who I want to be. So that's where I'm at now.
Who do you want to be though?
Honestly, whenever the time comes for me to leave this earth, I want people to remember me. I don't even want them to talk about what I did in sports.
Sports, right?
At all, really, because that. And my coach at Alabama told me that like nobody's gonna, and he got the collegiate record indoors.
Right. Yeah.
He told me like none of this stuff is gonna matter one day. Like you can do all of this stuff, but it's not gonna matter at all.
So
At all. But I want people to remember me for somebody who left a piece of me here, other than sports.
Do you know what that piece is?
I'm figuring it out, and I'm not in a rush at all. Like, one thing I will say is that I kind of went through like a I don't know how much of a spiritual person you are.
Open up, bro. Go ahead.
But I will say, when I was going through all of that, looking back to where I was at in the past, and then looking where I'm at now, it kind of felt like I went through like a spiritual awakening almost, kind of. And I can feel it. I can feel it. I can hear it in the way I communicate with people, how I'm not nervous or scared or anxious to say whatever it is that needs to be said, or just how I carry myself.
And I feel like it's always interesting on how we get to that place, because it's no disrespect to parents, but once we get away from y'all, bruh, we understand what life really is. And like, I'm not saying like, like we need to be taught in certain ways by parents, but once we are left to the real world, it's like, man, like even like right now, like there's birds chirping. You know what I'm saying? Like, when we're younger, we're not worried about the freaking birds. We're not worried about nothing. But like, as you get older, like the simpler things, we see how big of an impact that is on our lives. So like, how Q said earlier, him just coming outside here with his friends and his girlfriend and just talking or just being around each other, like that stuff is important. But like you see how much missed time you've had from early childhood to now, to like, man, I was never able to just enjoy stuff. Like it was always, the stuff that we talked about.
Even like I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
Cut you off, but the double that we lived in on Madison, we got real cool with the people on the other side, and I would go, like when my parents would go to work, that's where I would go. And going back to what you said, what both of us said, just about enjoying the simplest things in life, the smaller things in life. Like when my parents would go to work, my dad, because I was playing, pee-wee football at the time at David Moore, my dad, he would always tell me, do 200 push-ups, 200 calf raises, sit-ups. You know, before I get off, I'm like, bro, I'm trying to, I'm trying to just
relax. Right, I'm trying to relax.
I'm trying to just relax. And like, even when I'll go over my grandparents' house on Raffensperger, he used to tell me, like, do some calf raises on the steps. But that and like I said, going back to me being at school and the time I've had to think, the two people that I'm thankful for and I can't express that enough are definitely my parents. Definitely my parents. And my dad, I'm becoming more and more like him as time goes on, because when it comes to me, he'll do whatever he has to do. And for me, for the people I care about, I'm always looking for more to do, or just what I can do at the moment.
How well are you at balance then? You know, trying to show appreciation, trying to be a boyfriend, a son, a friend.
I'm not gonna lie. My freshman year, I was, oh my gosh. When I first got to Tiffin, my time management skills and just learning where to focus my energy at certain points, it was terrible. It was terrible. And I always tell, like, people don't ask me about, like, when I first got to Tiffin, and I don't, you know, I'll only talk about what you ask me. And so, but for the sake of the conversation, I'm just gonna talk about it.
Nah, bruh. Talk about anything you want to. This is an open space. Go ahead.
When I first got there, on first day of practice, it was like 80s, in the 80s. And that's hot for Ohio.
Yeah, it is.
Especially coming from
It's sweaty. It is sweaty. Yeah.
That's hot.
Yeah.
First day of practice, I had one class. Actually, I had two classes, but my earlier one was from like 12:30 to like 1 something. I had practice at 2, I think. But I didn't eat or drink anything, like, the whole day. And, I slept. I got up at like 11 o'clock in the morning, and I think I played the game for a little bit. Then I got in the shower, and I went to class, got picked up, went to the track, and all we had was the warm up. And I was out there thinking, I'm about to die.
Yeah.
Like, I'm about to die. And the sprints coach, he was mad. He was like, man, I can't believe you came out here like this. I'm like, I better get my stuff together.
Right.
And I had a math class, like a 3-hour lab at 6 o'clock. And I remember I just went there and my head was banging. And I was just sitting there. I think I put my head down for like the first hour. And then went back to my dorm. And I told myself, like, tomorrow, I'm going to make sure I eat something. I'm going to make sure I drink water. I'm going to make sure I get up at a decent time in the morning so I don't get up, then I have to rush to class. But I never knew what was in store for me when I got to Tiffin. And I will say I definitely did miss my family. Like, I think the first weekend after being there, I came home. And I didn't even have a car.
Right.
My mom, she would go up there and give me. But it's like 2 hours away.
Yeah.
Hour and a half, 2 hours away. So, but I used to just call her like, Mom, can you come pick me up from school so I can come home? Like, I used to come home to go to the football games and everything, bro. And I think I was at that point in time, I was uncomfortable with being away from home and having a lot of time to myself, being alone more than usual, especially coming off from that summer, because that summer was fun. Like, I hung out with friends all the time just because I really didn't know when the next time I was gonna come back here.
Yeah.
Like I said, I came home literally the first weekend after being up at Tiffin.
Yeah. So I'm gonna change the narrative a little bit. Don't get offended when I say this.
No, you good.
Okay. So for the next segment, I do have my 3 questions that I'm gonna ask, but I want to ask of you. Forget school, forget track. When you answer these.
All right.
Okay. Because I like you said, not a lot of people know you. So forget athletes Q.
Yeah.
First question, because I'm only doing 3. What is something in life you feel like you missed out on?
Missed out on?
Missed out on. Yep.
Spending more time with my parents, family and friends, definitely. And like I said, I'm not going to dig too deep into that.
Go ahead,
but sports was definitely that took up 100% of my life from a young age up until now.
Do you feel like you never had a what is that? What word am I looking for? Like you never had a say in you doing sports or not?
Kinda.
It was more. Was it forced?
I won't say that. It was almost like you're gonna be in sports. Whatever that sport is up to you.
So forced.
So just as long as I was active.
So forced.
See, I don't want to say that because it wasn't like.
No, I'm not saying forced in the sense where like you were getting beat every day, but it's like.
Nah.
I mean, for someone to tell you,
when you look at it like
I'm about to say for someone to tell you, hey, you need to get 200 sit-ups done and 1,000 push-ups before I get home.
Yeah, I guess when you look at it like
but like
that,
I can't, I don't want to say like forced as like like them beating on you, but like if you didn't do sports, do you feel like you would turn out different, or what would Q look like to you if you didn't do sports?
I would probably be doing something in the creative art, something like that. Something
like what interests you?
Definitely clothing and arts.
Okay.
Definitely clothing and arts. And I think I've always, and this is going back to when I was in like the 6th, 7th grade. I always admired just the time it takes people to make something. I admire that. I admire quality over anything really. And like I don't know if you've been, I don't know how much of a fashion guy you are, but Paris Fashion Week is going on now.
Yeah, I've seen that. Yeah.
I wish I could just be there and just to see what the people are wearing and just be in that environment. Be around other people who
who understand that.
Yeah.
So to kind of go back on what you missed on, like you do have your girlfriend in front of you right now. So it's like, what time do you feel like was missed out with him? I mean, because like you talked about your parents, and like I understand that aspect. So like now that you see them in front of you, what do you think you missed out on?
I'll probably say just strengthening the bond, because it's always been strong, but just because something is good or strong doesn't mean it can be better or stronger.
Right.
So, but definitely building a deeper bond, because and like what we were talking about earlier, I don't know if I said this, but there's a lot of hate and evil in the world, and so I feel like
you never know anymore, bro. Yeah.
And it's definitely important to tell the people that you care about and love that you care about them and love them, because the next day they could be gone or you could be gone.
Mm-hmm.
So
when you were in those dark moments, how open or vulnerable were you to your friend's girlfriend, or were you at all?
Not really.
Okay.
Not really, no.
Like, because like you didn't know how to process your feelings? Like,
I think it was more so that like there was so much in my head, and I feel like when I would sit down and try to think things out, it was all just still spiraling in
right,
my head.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I'm sitting still, but my head is running rampant.
Yeah.
Thoughts are running rampant in my head. But now I feel like I've gotten more comfortable with that. Like, that's just me. That's just who I am.
What made it uncomfortable at first?
Not being able to
put it in words?
Yeah, definitely. Because I feel like if you can't express something, that's just gonna make it harder for you to express it when you get the chance to tell somebody that actually like wants to listen.
Right, yeah, and that I feel like that's the biggest thing too, is really understanding who to confide in.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people, they can't process, I don't want to say emotions, but they can't. Like I've tried to have conversations with people, and like I'm not gonna say they like laughed, but like they just had like a blank face, like what does that mean? Like what do you, like you don't have feelings? Like so I think one thing I can again give advice on is just to keep being open about it, and I'm not saying go to therapy, but use your friends as therapy.
I tried therapy when I was at.
Oh, how was it?
Alabama.
How was it? Oh yeah, because they give that to athletes and all stuff. Yeah.
I went like 3 or 4 times, and it wasn't the. It was, but it wasn't the therapist. Like she never did anything wrong. She would listen, and whenever I couldn't put my thoughts into words, she would kind of like you were doing, kind of filling those gaps. But it was like
it wasn't fulfilling. It wasn't.
I don't know a whole lot about this person, and so me just coming in here and
just letting it all out.
I didn't really feel comfortable with that.
So when you have been comfortable recently, how's that made you feel? Like, do you feel relieved?
Yeah, definitely.
And how does that make your peers feel?
I hope better, because I know I'm not the best at, especially in the past. I wasn't the best at expressing how I felt, and I'm already a quiet guy, but like whenever I would get mad or upset, I would just get quiet.
And what makes you so quiet? Like why are you so reserved?
I don't know. I don't really got a lot to say. I mean,
but you do though.
I say it when it's needed to be said.
But it's always need to be said. If you're you,
Mm-hmm.
I feel like you should always. I'm not gonna say always want to say something. Like I get like there's a time and place, but like you just kind of being like, I'll say it when it's time. Like that doesn't bother you.
I see like if. Like going back to with the Speed by Faith thing, when I look at that, I'm like, nah, I should have said something a long time ago. But if it's just me and you know, I'm out with my friends or I meet a random stranger or something, because some people they're extroverts, you know, they like
to go to people,
like or if they go out and with their friends and they like to talk. And me, honestly, I really don't like to be around people a whole lot, for real. If I could choose between staying in the house and going out and going to a restaurant, I will have the food delivered and not ever leave the house. I will not leave the house.
Is it because of like the fear of the world?
Somewhat, and part of it is just like I feel like people can be cruel and judgy, especially if they don't know you.
That bothers you? Why?
It's because before, it might be a me thing, because
it is.
For me, when I try to get to know the person first.
Yeah.
Before I ever form any type of opinion about them in my head at all, and I enjoy my peace.
I can respect that.
I definitely enjoy my peace. And that's another reason why. Because I did used to have really, really bad social anxiety.
Yeah.
Like whenever I would go, I'm just like, how fast can I get what I need to get done?
No, and that's interesting, because like I'm such an extrovert. Like I don't care who knows anything about whatever I do, who I do it with, or like it doesn't matter. So I think that's very interesting. But I am going to go into the next question. Hope you don't mind. I'm not trying to cut you off.
No, you're good.
So question number 2. Do you feel that you have exceeded your own expectations, or if you have expectations of yourself? Because, like, you know, people have expectations of you because of X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
But have you exceeded your own expectations? Or have you felt like you failed yourself? Either or.
I won't say failed. But I also don't want to say, like, I exceeded them, because I always had a feeling that track was going to work out regardless. And just me being me, I felt like I was going to come into who I really am at some point and be comfortable with that. And I think in the past now honestly, a lot of it came from the church, just not being able to express when something was on my mind, because it was always go, go, go. And so I won't say failed, because to me failure is not an option in anything. Like I make it set back, but I don't ever just want to quit something. I never will just quit something. I might step away from it just so I can gather my thoughts, whether it's for a week or a few months, but I'm always gonna pick up where I left off, and then go forward from that. But I know you said don't say anything about track, but
And the only reason why I'm saying that is just because like I want you to be comfortable with yourself away from that.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
So I'm just challenging your thinking. That's it.
And the only reason I'm gonna bring up that is because I felt like if I didn't give myself an opportunity to get away and be alone, then I wouldn't be able to tell you that I'm comfortable with myself. And so I think back to when I was alone at school, and I don't get sad, and I start to think like maybe there was a reason why I was in that hole, why I went 8.5 hours away, and why everything happened in the short amount of time that it did, because none of this happened at Tiffany.
Yeah, but I think a lot of it, like, you have to, for one, just understand where you were at, bro. Like, not even like location, but just like mentally, where you were at, because now that you have this time away from everybody, like, okay, now I can really find who Q is. And I think that's such a special moment, because like now you're coming back like, I can sit straight, I can lean back, I can, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like I am really happy that you had the moment to get away in a sense.
Yeah.
So I think continue to figure that out.
So we want to start our own clothing brand called Prolific Clothing, and
Okay.
I got Canva when I was at school, just to have something to do with my free time, and I just started because I took a consumer communications class, and I actually made a logo over the summer before I went back to school that I used for a project in the class, and I only had it for a semester, but having the freedom to make something of your own, I think that's where this whole that whole thing of even going into clothing started at. Definitely. And like I said about the quality thing earlier, like admiring quality, I look at brands now and I automatically think like, how did they make that? Or I'll look at something like an album cover or something, and sometimes I can tell if it was made in like Photoshop or Illustrator or something. But being able to make something and give it to somebody as a not even a gift, but just a piece of art,
A piece of yourself.
yeah. And that's kind of what I was getting into when I was saying before I leave this earth, I want to leave a piece of myself, and that's probably, I don't want to say the only thing, but for right now and where I want to go, that is the only thing. I know more things will come to be, but just speaking for right now, that's definitely something that I want to leave behind.
And I will say the best thing about creative and art is there is no wrong answer.
telling you, man.
Who can tell you that you can't
telling
put
you.
something on something, bro?
I'm telling
Are
you.
you joking?
Man.
So, but I will, like, off camera and all that stuff, I will send you. There's a person that Oh, did it stop?
Nah, still.
Okay, thank you. There is a person named his brand name is Only Ninjas. Like he does an entire breakdown of how to label yourself, how to get neck labels, how to get like personal pins and all that stuff, like for cheap. So I'll definitely send that to you, because like that's something that has helped me. So yeah, I'll send that to you. Just just remind me, because he's probably the most informational person when it comes to clothes. Off of, you good?
Yeah, I'm straight.
Okay. I saw you got hit in the face, but he's probably the most informational person as far as clothes on YouTube. So just remind me to send you that.
All right.
Yeah, bruh. I think watching you grow in a small amount of time has been really peaceful, because like I was very aware, like even as a kid, like not saying that I knew you as children, but like I was the type of person who was an outcast as a kid, because like I was very just different. I'm listening to different music. I'm not dressing the same. I'm not like, and people thought I was weird. I'm like, but now we're getting to the place where, you know, everything that I was doing when I was a kid, it's all normal. So I'm like, you know, I no, like for real. So like I think it's really cool that you're getting to the place where like you're understanding yourself. So, but just be patient, bro. Like don't rush. Don't rush. Is the biggest advice I have to tell you. Going into the last question. Question number 3. What part of your life do you need the most growth in?
I would probably say, it might sound crazy, but I would definitely say my future self. And I only say that because looking at how far I've come now, I can see, I see the end goal and I see the road, and it's a long road. And going back to what you just said, don't rush it and be patient. I think patience is one of my greatest attributes. I don't care how long it takes to get something done. As long as it gets done and I can see it getting done, I'll take a long time, however much time is needed.
So I just want to make sure I understand correctly because of the question. So I said, what part of your life do you need the most growth in? And you said future self?
Yeah.
Explain more.
I feel like,
because like you're not there yet. So I'm trying to figure out how you can
I'm trying
grow.
to do everything I can now. So when I get to where I'm going, I'm okay. I don't have to worry about anything. And I can just keep building, taking the small steps that are needed to make sure that when I get to a certain point, I'm not regretting anything. I'm not feeling like I missed something. I'm not, making sure nothing or anybody feels left out, including myself.
What short term goals do you have? Like before the end of this year, you want to get this done, or you want to do this, or whatever.
Well, moving is already happening, but I would say from a personal standpoint, getting my mental together, whether that's reading X amount of minutes a day, meditating X amount of minutes a day, fixing my diet, just small stuff like that. And not meaning food when I say diet, just
what you literally feed yourself. Yeah.
What I read, who I talk to, what I listen to. So, and like I said, I know it might sound crazy, and I'm understanding it. And I had a feeling that you was going to ask me, like re-ask the question again. But yeah, just making sure that I'm doing everything now. So
to set yourself up for you.
Yeah. And I feel like that's always been something that has bothered some people. Just because I'll get something done and I'm already looking ahead. Already looking how I can get the next thing done or complete another milestone or take the next step or something. And I feel like that's important. And I'm not saying people who don't do that, like, it's important to focus on the now. But with me, I get it done and then I'm looking to get the next thing done. I don't really dwell on.
So when you see Q at his high self, what is he doing? Where is he living? How is he feeling? What is his mental like? What is he?
You want the truth? Yeah, you want the.
Bro,
I
asked you the question.
I would say in a house with my wife. I really don't want a kid, but if there's one running around, then so be it. But in a house with my wife in California, and the clothing brand is where I see it, where we see it getting to, and just being free of from a financial standpoint, from a personal standpoint, not being able, not doing something that I love and not having to get judged for it. Because I feel like, and I'm glad that we had this conversation, because now, like, I don't really care, how people feel about me, what they say, because regardless if you're doing good or bad, people are always gonna have something to say.
People are always gonna have something to say, bro.
So you might as well just do what you want to do.
Just, bro, continue. I don't want to.
That's all. What was you about to say?
No, basically, like, bro, I have never cared what people thought about me, bruh. Never. I've went through so many different stages, bro. Like, I have never cared. The same person. I remember. I did an interview, freshman year of like where I see myself after high school. I am exactly where I said I was going to be. I'm going to be doing podcasts. I'm going to be doing music. I'm going to be a streamer and a YouTuber. I am all those things, people.
Man.
Like it will never change. But I will have to say, you have to expose yourself to different cultures, and that's why it's so important to travel. And like, some people may not understand why I say different cultures is because like, different cultures have a different level of respect, discipline, and understanding of life. All we know is Americanized way. Get up, go to work, kiss your wife on the forehead, make sure your kids have something to eat before they go to lunch, come home, do the same thing, wake up. You know what I mean? Like that's all we understand is that's the American dream. You know what I'm saying? So I think like
young age too.
exactly. So like when you experience other cultures, you see how important family time is. You see how important what you put on your food that creates your mental health. That creates your obesity, your laziness. Financial, how to save, when to spend, how to build, you know what I mean? So it basically just saying when you get to a point where you can travel until you don't want to, bro.
Man.
And I say that in such a serious way just because us being young, it helps to soak it in now. So like when we do get to that place in age, it's like, wow, I've seen everything that I've needed to expose myself to. Now you can bring it back to your family, bring it back to your community. And that's what I'm really trying to do is like, aside from talking to people, on this podcast, whatever, however you guys want to talk about it, it's bringing it back to your community. What are you taking home at the end of the day when you watch this episode? Are you going to talk to your friends? Are you going to call your dad? Are you going to say something to your mom? Like that's how important what I'm doing is. What are you taking home? If I'm not taking home anything, it's not of value to me. And like that's why going out to me is stupid. And we can get deep in that, but explore everything. And even if you don't want to try it, just do it and like, all right, that's not for me. You know what I mean? But go ahead.
And when I was talking about me going through the spiritual awakening, literally what you just said is what I've been thinking about for the longest. Like from the time we're in elementary school, we have to sit. It's like we're
programmed.
Yes. To be workers and not thinkers. That's really how I feel that our country is. And I could say others, but
no, I was just gonna say something, but go ahead. I'll remember it.
Yeah, like when I was at school and I would just see, like whenever I would just go out, I will say one thing, and going back to when I said I don't really like being around people. I observe a lot, whether it's people, whether it's just sitting out here, I observe a lot. And one thing I have noticed is that I don't want to fall into the trap of doing what everybody else is doing. The Matrix.
Right.
Falling victim to the Matrix.
Right.
Basically is what I'm trying to say. And the Matrix is, and I've already done it, and I kind of like feel stupid because I'm figuring out all of this stuff and I'm learning all of this stuff literally at the end. I'm like, why couldn't I figure it out?
And bro, and like
early?
Man, and like I always used to ask my mom, like, what would life be like for you if you knew everything that you knew now as a kid? Like, I mean, obviously a lot of stuff you can't understand as a kid, but like, like what if you just had the knowledge of? So, I mean, that can go deeper too. But what I wanted to ask was like, you said something about program, and before we go into our closing remarks, you said something about being programmed. Do you feel like instead of being forced that you were programmed to be who you are, and now that you have to unlearn it? Because I know that you said that you didn't want to be forced. So do you feel like you were programmed?
In a sense, yes, and I think I was deep in the hole was because I was aware of that.
Okay.
I was aware of that. I was aware of since I was young, I was told what to do by complete strangers in school. I had to go to practice, which is something I really didn't want to do. And I got to middle school, it was the same thing for 2 years. Then I got to high school, it was the same thing for 4 more years.
And now you're at the point, I mean college, but now you're at the point where you have to unlearn everything.
And part of why I was so just miserable at the time is because I feel like everything, when I would have these conversations with my dad, I would say everything, but then I'll be like, no, not everything, but some stuff. I'm saying everything now that we've been taught since we were in elementary school is a lie about just how to carry yourself, because honestly I feel like we're taught not to think.
Yeah, for sure.
We're taught to be workers. Like I just said, we're taught not to think, we're taught to do. There's only one right answer. And I had a conversation with one of my professors just about school, and I spent a lot of time watching videos on like Rick Rubin and Childish Gambino, Pharrell.
Wow, Rick Rubin. Oh, you've been watching. Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Man, he's tough, bro.
Rick Rubin and what he was saying just about artists, not a producer, not a designer, not a painter, just an artist, because I feel like all of those things are under that artist umbrella.
Yeah.
There's no when it comes to being an artist and being creative, I feel like there's no boundaries.
There's no boundaries at all.
But I had a conversation with him, and he was like, he said his daughter said something about his daughter having like ADHD or something, and she likes to draw, and she does it in class, and the teachers get mad. And he said he already told her like she doesn't have to go to college if she doesn't want to, but I think he kind of wants her to figure it out. I mean, even though she's still in elementary school, they know, he knows. He's a college professor telling me that he doesn't want his daughter to go to school, and I'm like thinking, and I told my coach this. I said, part of me feels like I wasted my time at Alabama, not from the relationships I made, connections I made, whatever, the stuff I learned, not the experience, just going there, that I had to go there to do it. Because I feel like with me, I can adapt to any environment, and I felt like me going there and learning all that stuff at the end, I'm like, dang. So you're just sitting there you just got to push through it.
And it's crazy, bro, and like, I don't mean to say this in such a blunt way, but I was hoping that you were not going to go to Alabama.
For real?
Like, for real. Like, you know, people, the reason why people celebrate it is because, like, oh my gosh, it's a D1 school. He's about to get a full ride. Like, he's about to be the next person out of Springfield, Ohio. But how I saw it was, you're about to be a trophy again. Again.
And I told myself, I was like, when I was trying to leave Tiffin, and that thought didn't come until, like I said, when I got home and I had time to just think about, just think, just be. And I told it went about a week before I say anything to my girlfriend, friends, parents, because I got home and I'm like, I was really thinking about leaving, but I'm like, maybe it's just one of those things where I'm just frustrated and I'm just I'm just in my head. And so a week went by and I'm like, no, I'm still thinking about leaving. So I told my dad, and he was like, whatever you want to do, we're behind you. And girlfriend and friends said the same thing. Whatever you want to do, we're behind you. So, and I'm not going to lie, when my name got in the portal, I was a little nervous because it's like, what's next? I did all of this. I got my name in the portal. I said I wanted to leave. I'm in the portal now, but what's next? Because there are coaches that look specifically for athletes in the portal. And so like when I first got in the portal, I got like 5 or 6 emails in like an hour and a half. And the first one was like one of them was like Michigan State. The two biggest ones were like Michigan State and Eastern Michigan. And I'm like, I didn't want to email them back because I'm like, what I'm looking for is coming. It'll come to me. And my old coach at Tiffin, my freshman year, she ended up leaving after my freshman year. But I told her, I'm like, Coach, I'm thinking about leaving. Do you know any coaches elsewhere or whatever? And she's like, because I wanted to go to Ohio State. I'm not gonna lie, I wanted to stay home. I wanted to go to Ohio State. And she told me right off the back, no, they don't really. She shot that down. I'm like, dang. So she was like, I know Miguel Pate at Alabama. And I will never forget this day because my cousins, I think it was her grad party or something, it was here. And we were going to Dayton to pick up some chicken and fish. And I'm in the car with my dad. I'm like, Dad, she just said she knows Coach Pate at Alabama. We just looked at each other like, I'm like, dang, I really got the opportunity to go that far. But going back to what you said about being a trophy, I told myself, if I'm gonna be a number, I want to be a number somewhere I want to be.
Come on, man. Yeah.
I want to be a number where somewhere. I want to be a number somewhere. I want to be somewhere I can grow. And if I would have stayed at Tiffin, and I saw one of my old coaches when we were at Ole Miss. He's at Lamar now. I saw him, and I told him the same thing I'm about to tell you. I was like, I felt like I've grown. I was in the middle of growing as a person, spiritually, physically, mentally. And I felt like if I wouldn't have stayed at Tiffin, I would not have been able to do that. It's because I wasn't in the environment that granted me the opportunity to do that.
Right.
And I felt like going to Alabama, being 8.5 hours away, I felt like it was like something was shifting me in that direction that was telling me.
For a reason.
That was telling me, I'm gonna show you that there's more to life than track. I'm gonna show you who you are.
And like before we close, real quick, one of the biggest reasons why I was fearful of you going to Alabama because of a conversation that we had. I don't know if you remember this, but it was me, Naomi Hookfin, and you after track, and like we were talking about what we planned on doing after high school. And
obviously we was in high
yeah,
school.
this was Ask Me for High after track one day, and like I said the same thing that I've said like my entire life, and then Naomi said hers, and then Quincy literally said I don't know, and I was like, oh my gosh, he doesn't know who he is. But you were a freshman at that time, and I was a sophomore, so it's like to see how you progressed athletically was like thumbs up, but mentally I could see that there was going to be a place where it's like he's going to go through something that he is not ready for because again all you were was an athlete. So like as soon as you posted that little I'm going to Alabama, I was excited for you, but I was like he's about to go through something, bro, and like not in like a traumatic way, but like I could just see that you were going to be challenged, and I like as a friend. Because we slowly grew our friendship, when we were younger. I just didn't want to see you go through that because all I saw was an image of you. Yeah. So it's like
And what's crazy is the professor that I told you I had the conversation with about school. I had multiple conversations with him, but one that sticks with me, and I think will stick with me until I die, is I'm like, yeah. This just shows you how small the world really is. I'm telling him about Trey. I'm like, yeah, we had this one dude from back home. He came here and he moved back home and went through some stuff, and I don't know what he's doing now. And he was like, what was his name? And I was like, Trey. And before I even said his last name, he said it. I'm like, you know him? He was like, yeah. He was like, I had him in my class. He said, I had him in my class. I'm like, are you for real right now? He said, yeah. And he told me the story about he's like eating some chips. But I just never thought me going down there. I never thought I would run into anybody that would know somebody from here. And it sticks with me because going back to what I said about all the time to think, I feel like I've had more than enough examples in front of me of what to do and what not to do. And some of it is friends and family, and some of it's people I don't really know, haven't had a conversation with. But it's like you have to be aware to pick up. You have to be aware enough to pick up on that because it's being put in front of you for a reason. That's how I feel.
Yeah, that's for sure.
That's how I feel.
And I will have to say, guys, we are going a little bit over time, so I'm going to have to end it right here. But this is the end of the episode, guys. Episode 25 with Q. This is the segment where I will give you a chance to ask me any questions. If you have any questions or whatever you want to do, this is your time.
So I go it didn't occur to me until like midway. Actually, when you were talking about doing the podcast and being a YouTuber, like,
Yeah.
was this something that you always knew you were gonna do?
Yes. Yes. Again, I'm a very extroverted person. I've been an outcast, I've been a weirdo, I've been whatever. But one thing that has never changed is me. As me, bro. I think the interesting thing about like our friendship is like you did sports. I only did sports to create connections. I'm not gonna say that I wasn't athletic, but like
No, you used to roll on the 4x1.
I mean, nah, but like,
You used to roll on the
nah, but like I only did sports to meet people. Like, I didn't really want to, I just did it. But the reason why I knew it was what I wanted to do is because like I just always liked helping people. And I will say I also like being the center of attention just because it was fun. But to be impactful to people, to see people be like, wow, Zion, you remember when blah 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 back in 6th grade?
Man.
Like, dang, you still remember that, nigga? like stuff like that really hits home. And like, you know, how I see myself now is like, I've talked about this 1,000 times, but the reason why I put TV at the end of my name is because I literally think of myself as an actual network. I can do drama, I can do entertainment, I can do music, sports. Like, I'm a cable network. Like, I can do it all. So even from a kid, I saw that too. But how to grow into it was just was the consistency part. Like, you see how important it is for people to be consistent with anything. Jobs, life, family, friends, relationships. Like, being consistent is one of the most important things ever. And being patient. So I didn't have that growing up, but did I see it from a young age? Yes. My goals that I have, like I made 2 more poster boards that I have on my wall. A bunch of goals. So it's like, you know, I've been doing this since I was a kid. But yeah, I don't know if that answers your question.
No, it does, definitely. Yeah. I just want to say, like, wherever you see yourself going, you're definitely going to get there. Just after talking about what we talked about and me being who I am. And if it's one thing I've learned about the next steps in life and what to do, is to not chase anything. Just let it be known what it is you want to do, and just leave it at that.
Bruh, same to you, bruh. Since you give me advice, I'll give you advice. Relax. Chill.
Yeah.
Enjoy, man. You have been through a lot of schooling. Too much, to be exact. So please take the time when you are, you know, going through your move, when you're doing what you need to do. Explore Q, bro. Do whatever your mind thinks. I don't care how stupid it is, how dumb it is, how crazy it is. Just do it, bro. You really get to know who you are, and then watch everything else follow.
I'm not gonna lie, I'm finna learn how to surf, bro. I'm not gonna lie, I'm about to learn how to surf.
I thought he was about to say something about, I'm about to learn how to make a t-shirt tonight. This nigga said straight surf, bro. That's hilarious, bro.
Surf, bro,
but thank you, Q, for coming on today's episode 25. It has been a real interesting turnout. And like, for people who really aren't used to this format, the reason why I like this format a little more is because it shows how comfortable people can get when they're just talking. Because like, not a lot of people can just talk. So thank you for just rambling. You weren't rambling, but like, you know, for saying all your stories, just because like, it's just really cool to see you open up.
Nah, I'm not gonna lie, I thought you was gonna ask this. In my head, I'm like, all right, so I'm like, what questions is he gonna
See, bro, people always say that, oh yeah, I'm about to prepare myself for this. Like, nah, bro.
Like, so we're gonna do it differently. I was still like, I didn't get nervous. I'm just like, what? I was kind of happy that you did it the way you did it too.
No, and like, I would specifically probably keep it the way it is just for this episode, just because you just needed a chance to just talk, like, for real. So I appreciate you for that. But other than that, it is Noiz.I and Q, and we are out.